and he handled that. But my getting sick was just too much. He wasn't prepared for all the emotional turmoil. Who can blame him? I can, replied Allison. Be fair, said Laura. We weren't engaged. He didn't owe me anything. He wasn't worthy of you, Allison insisted. You're the most outstanding person, the most beautiful, wonderful woman. You're hardly objective, Laura laughed. But can you really blame Don for wanting a normal life? What man wouldn't have second thoughts when he heard the words breast cancer? A man who loves you? Came the quick reply. Well, I'm not going to count on that happening, said Laura in an even tone. So I'll have lots of time and energy to rebuild my interrupted career. She leaned across the table. I'm 33. It's now or never. And you heard my agent last night. Work is therapy, Laura. She mimicked Norman Cohen's low voice. She relaxed in her chair. Norman is a dear friend as well as a businessman, and he's got some radio ads lined up for me. Allison would have protested again, but Laura held up her hand. I'm not discussing men anymore, Allie. I'm not sure there's a man in the world who could look past this. Anyway, it's too soon. All I can do is take one day at a time. Capice? Sure, replied Allison. I understand, but I don't have to like it. I love you, and I want you to have... I know, Laura said in a hoarse voice. You want me to have everything you have. Loving husband, healthy children. But that's probably not going to happen for me. What is going to happen, however, is a nice long stay in Pilgrim Cove. Allison remained quiet for a long moment. I recognize that expression, that tone, she finally said. You've made up your mind, but my invitation remains open. Will always remain open. Laura looked at her sister's face, at the sincerity clearly written there. Thanks, Allie. Thanks a lot. But I've got to figure it out on my own. She reached for the phone. I'm calling Bartholomew Quinn, the man who arranged the summer rentals when we were kids. I remember going with Daddy to Mr. Quinn's real estate office. And I remember him, a head of thick white hair. White? And that was how many years ago? 16, 17? He might be dead by now. Nope, he has a website. Bartholomew Quinn stood at the large front window of his Main Street office in Pilgrim Cove, his hand cupping the bowl of the empty pipe in his mouth, a comfortable habit he hadn't bothered to break even though he'd given up the pleasure of filling the beauty with fine tobacco. Promises. He'd made promises. A promise to his daughters and to his beloved granddaughter and to her precious daughter. 4 generations of Quinns, 3 of whom had said, No more smoking, Dad, Granddad, Papa Bart. He shook his head, remembering how they'd ganged up on him. Foolish girls to worry so much. He was as strong as ever and as sharp as ever, and maybe just as hard-headed, too. He sighed, except these days he chomped on an empty pipe. His eyes focused on the late-model blue Honda Accord pulling into a visitor's spot in front of his building. Then he glanced at his watch. If this was Laura McCloud, she was right on time. He'd been astonished to hear from her last week, astonished that she remembered him. But then again, he grinned to himself, he was a pretty memorable guy. Just ask his kids, or anyone in Pilgrim Cove. Everyone knew Bartholomew Quinn. The car door opened and a woman emerged, golden hair tossing in the wind. Bart tisked. She should have worn a hat. Wasn't she aware that February was the worst of the winter months in New England? He straightened his silk bow tie and adjusted the comfortable woolen cardigan he wore. Bart Quinn knew how to adapt to weather and to life. After 75 years on the planet, he'd had plenty of practice. He watched the young woman check the sign, Quinn Real Estate and Property Management, and walked to the front door. He went to greet her. Well, as I live and breathe, he said, shaking Laura's hand. The young McCloud girl, all grown up. She had a delightful laugh, but it didn't quite hide the sadness in her dark blue eyes. Strain showed in her too thin face. Come in and have a hot cup of Earl Grey. He ushered her to a small round table. After calling to an assistant for the tea, he took a seat opposite Laura. You've had a hard time of it, haven't you? Bart began. A fine woman was Bridget McCloud, and your dad, too. I remember Connor well. 2 good people. And now their daughters come to see me. He sat back in his chair and waited. Laura nodded. Yes, I've come to you, Mr. Quinn, with a request. She moved her chair a fraction closer. My question is...